Hi everyone, my name is Mondo and this is episode 46 of Hungry Gaming Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Today is February 23rd, 2018, but you're most likely listening in sometime after this coming Monday. If you are new to the show, every week we discuss some gaming news. We also focus on a gaming issue. At the conclusion of the discussion, we pass the conversation on to you, the jury, to make a final verdict. Today's discussion will revolve around competitive gaming and how it translates to casual gamers. Joining us today, Luis. Dude, what's up?
How's it going, man? Pretty excited.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too. Especially we got some Sea of Thieves going on this weekend.
Yep.
Well, more of that in a bit. But first, before we begin, there is some housekeeping. Please remember to check out our main website, www.hungjurynetwork.com. There you can find all of our latest episodes, and you can subscribe to make sure you never miss a beat of what we have to say. Episodes are uploaded every Monday, although timing may depend on the weather. You can also find us on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play Music, Stitcher, and other affiliate podcast services by simply searching Hungry Gaming Podcast. If you have something to say, a comment, or recommendation, join the jury by liking our Facebook page and tweeting us at Hungry Gaming Podcast. Now, what do we think? Let's start with gaming news. Luis, before we start with the gaming news, actually, we always forget about this little segment, and it's one of my most favorite segments, and it's what are we playing at the moment? And I know that you have like a plethora of games that you play.
Well,
like I know you're always playing something different, but for the most part, it's can I guess that it's PUBG?
actually, yeah, I'm still playing that one. I'm playing still some Rainbow Six Siege, but that's what the reason I said I was excited was because the closed beta is still out for Sea of Thieves, and I'm downloading that right now as we speak.
It's exciting,
Yeah.
man. Let me tell you, it's
Really like it.
it's
so
a fantastic game.
Mhm.
As for me, I actually recently bought the early access to Hunt Showdown, but that's not really the game that I consider myself playing. It's like not like the game that I'm like putting all my time in. I've only put in maybe 6 hours. The one that I really have been playing is Divinity Original Sin 2, and wow, fantastic game. I mean, it's probably by far one of the nicest RPGs I've played in a while.
Mhm.
Not gonna say I expected it. Justin from earlier episodes on a few months ago, he was the one who told me, "Hey, you got to play this game," and I was like, "All right, cool,
Oh,
I'll try it."
Sorry, I wanted to interrupt you. I forgot that I actually am playing League again, League of Legends.
You are,
And I just want to say that it's changed so much in the way that I feel that it's been downgraded. In the aspect that there's these points that you receive that are called they used to be called IP. And with those points is how you used to be able to purchase champions. However, they have this new system that you receive blue essence, and it's basically went from IP into blue essence. Now the issue is that before you would receive IP for each match that you've played, right? So let's say there's a champion called Fizz, and he's 6,300 points of IP. It used to be like that before, but now it's 6,300 blue essence. Now the problem is that when you play a match, you get XP and not IP. And as you level up, you get these bundles that give you the blue essence. So you have to play, instead of playing 10 games that can give you Fizz, you have to be leveling up to 6 levels to get Fizz. You get me? So you're playing more games overall now to be able to get the champion that you want.
and you're playing more than you had to play before with the original system.
So they're basically EA got their greedy hands in this game, kind of in a way, in the fact that you basically are incentivized to use actual money to buy these characters now, that where before it was you can grind it out naturally to get the champion that you want.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a cash grab. It sounds like It sounds like a cash grab.
Yeah.
Just like a move to make money off of it.
Just wanted to give my opinion how upset I was at that change.
So what made you actually? Now I'm curious. What made you go decide? Hey, I want to jump into League of Legends again.
In all honesty, it was just a female. She wanted to play with me, and I went back into the game.
Oh.
And I was just upset at that change. I noticed it's different. I don't like the new characters. I feel like the new characters are completely just wiping the floor with the older characters, because back in the day their abilities aren't as intricate as the new ones, because the new ones they also changed the spells. The new ones have more capability of being more mobile. I feel like they're agile and they have more abilities than the other ones have, which gives them an advantage. And like I said, the spells are different, new items that it's more of a crazy read that you have to figure out what the items do. And
so overall, you're not really that excited.
Yeah.
You don't seem excited for the new new changes.
No. I just play it because it's a nostalgic feeling of a game, and I still play it. I know how to play it, but personally, I just hate the changes that they made.
But I don't see you ever going back to because you never really liked the more watered down like Heroes of the Storm. You've always been more of like a Dota, League of Legends. Every time I bring up Heroes of the Storm, you're like, no.
Like Heroes of the Storm is a fantastic, beautiful. It's
a
visual game. It works. It runs smooth. It's very pretty. It's very fun to pick up and easy to play. Like to at least for me, because I came from League. To me, in matters of difficulty, it's Dota at the top. Then came League, and then came comes to Heroes of the Storm. But I started out with League, so that's why it was so easy to transition into Heroes of the Storm, because it did feel like a watered down version of a MOBA. And that's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just a lot of people choose that MOBA.
Trust me, if there's a MOBA for me to play, it's Heroes of the Storm, because every time I go into like Dota or League of Legends, I'm like, wow, this is like really intense, and and I'm not saying that the other one's not. It doesn't have intense moments, but it's more of like a casual like game for me. Like it's less, which we'll definitely touch upon later on in the episode.
The reason that there's like I mean, I don't know if they changed it, but from what I remember when I played Heroes of the Storm, it's all based on just ability and skill shot landing. Like how good are you with your champion, and just being able to land your abilities and working with the team, which is great. But then there's another tier above with League of Legends. There's bushes, there's items, there's other things that came into factor that. And besides that comes Dota, which is even harder because there's a denying capability that you can deny the XP for the other team. And it's just Dota overall has, to me, the most difficult, there's the steepest learning curve of them all.
Yeah. I completely believe that, because every time I play, it always feels like a very, very strong and challenging uphill battle to even understand what's going on. So usually that's been my barrier to jumping into these MOBA games, like whether it be Dota or League.
Dota is the Rainbow Six Siege of
I mean,
MOBAs.
I have it. That's the funny part. I have it downloaded.
Yeah.
I have both of them downloaded. It's just kind of one of those, like, I don't feel like my PC is complete unless I have at least one of them in my computer. But I don't really consider myself like a Dota player. But moving on right now, I want to kind of touch up on a subject. Now, we know that you haven't really actually played Sea of Thieves, but I want to just discuss with the audience the Sea of Thieves original stress test, so like the first stress test that we had last week, where, I mean, it was kind of like out of nowhere. They were like, hey, we're going to have a stress test. We're just going to kind of like test the servers, test how this, how many people we can kind of get on playing at the same time. And from my experience, it was actually it wasn't bad. I know a lot of people had issues connecting into the game. They said that was going to happen. There are interruptions. It's not a scale test or a stress test for no reason. It's not the reason of these type of like activities is to kind of like put stress on the servers to see them fail, to see what's their breaking point and what they can do to fix it. So it was expected. But there are a few little differences, and I'm easily telling you, Luis, and I'm going to tell the audience because you haven't really played this one, so I'm going to tell you what to expect. There are some UI changes. So from the original, the closed beta, you had like a different system of going in. There was no character selection. You'll have that now in the scale test. And when I say now, for the audience members that are not aware of, like myself, Rare actually released a scale test this week. You will not know this because you'll be listening to this on Monday, but it's kind of like a surprise test. I wasn't even expecting this, but they did release it between 23rd and 25th. So that, I'm assuming, will be the same for this week as well. But they changed some UI stuff. That's pretty cool. But more importantly of all thing is kind of like we get to see the character selection system. So it's very interesting the way they implemented it. Before, like most people, like when they think of like character like selection or character like customization, they usually think like changing the face, the hair, the color, whether you're big, large, skin, small build, large build. This is kind of like an interesting twist. They added this more of like a randomized look. They want people to look different, but they want people to look different and not necessarily look the way that they look. They want to make it a little more cartoony. So it's very interesting the way that they've kind of set it up. And the way it works is that you get like a series of like I think like 8 pirates that you can just kind of like scroll through. If you don't like them, you just hit the refresh button and it refreshes all of them into like a different randomized set. All the pirates are kind of like randomized, so you're not gonna get the same pirate over and over again.
That's good.
It's fantastic. And then you select from that. That's how it's going to be, which I kind of like because it not everyone's the same, but it's not up to you whether it's exactly the way you wanted it to be. But I think I like it. And it's funny because in the beta you have some pirates that have like
so just to be clear,
leg.
at the moment you don't have an option to choose your appearance, right? It's just based off of what they've given you.
No, that's exactly how it is right now. That's the fun part. So, Luis, when you jump in and later tonight, you will actually see this exact screen that I'm talking about.
Yep.
You'll be able to scroll through about 8 pirates, or I think it's like about 5 or 8 pirates. And then if you're not pleased with any of the options, you just refresh and you'll get a new set. Pretty cool stuff. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see which one you choose. But for the most part, I like the system. So that's how it's going to be. Then we get into like they've discussed, they've made talk about the progression system. Luis, I know that I'm gonna kind of put you up to date on this one too. The progression system is quite easy. There's going to be reputation based on the factions. If you've not heard about this game before, there are 3 different factions, each one based on a different set. Like one of them is based on gold, you go find treasure. Another one's based on like merchants, so you're pretty much transferring goods. And the other one's like a mythical, like magical faction, which I'm not really sure what they do. But here's the cool part. Luis, let's say you've got a real tough time, like getting yourself into the game, you're busy. Absolutely no problem, because if myself or a friend of mine or your friends, they play the game, they will level up themselves, but once you join in, you are not barred because of your low level with playing, like, to play with them. You're not barred. You can go in, play all the quests that they're playing. In fact, you can benefit from the fact that they're playing higher level quests.
Right.
So that's really cool.
Right.
Considering the mechanics of the game, I definitely see it as it's an absolute possibility. Like
right.
I'm not even wondering how they're going to do it, because I already know how they're going to do it. They've said it, but it makes sense. You've got a ship. You need to repair the ship. You don't need a level for that. You need to like look over the crow's nest to look for ships. You don't need a level for that. Yeah. Fire the cannons. You don't need a level for that.
I really appreciate that they did that whole universal, like the standardization of the levels. Like the reputation just shows that you are a veteran in the game and you have experience, but anyone can just jump in and go to any world and or land. And it doesn't really matter what level you are. That's a good.
Nope, it doesn't.
Really agree with their.
It doesn't at all. Isn't that like? But I think that's not only an improvement to the game, but it's also an improvement to like the co-op system. Because when you really think about it, having people for yourself, it feels better because you're not really like, let's say like you're playing solo, right? Like let's say it doesn't really apply to like your friends because you're not playing with them, but for yourself. Since the level system doesn't really attach to enemies and it doesn't attach to the way you play or the weapons, it's fun because like now you're just learning to play with the weapons. You're learning how to play with the cannons. It won't change depending on whether you're level 1 or 32. It's the same pistol. It's the same cannon. So I think they've kind of made it into a way where they're focusing less on gear and loot to improve your stats and just focusing on you as a player and saying, how can you become a better player? How can you make a better crew? And let me tell you, this is actually a huge issue in most games that I've played, especially like, for example, I'm going to use the best example. If only Kevin was here, he would be yelling at the top of his lungs. Destiny had a huge issue with this. I don't know how Destiny like the end of year 1 maybe, if you didn't have a particular weapon, people wouldn't play with you. They just wouldn't. You were useless to them. I'm not kidding. True. Gallahorn, what was it? It wasn't Crota's End. It was I don't expect people to know this, but it's like, because it was like a nightmare to even Skolas. Oh my God, Prison of Elders. So the whole idea is this: you go in, you kill him, but he was unbeatable, absolutely unbeatable for any standard, and you needed
to grind
the Gallahorn
you
needed the grind and the Gallahorn. You needed that one particular weapon. That is not an issue here. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about being level 44 or 100 or 200 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it really kind of adds to the gameplay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, that's a huge plus.
I want to add on to that. I do appreciate that because, like, for example, like if you wanted to play like RuneScape back in the day, Like, let's say your brother just got in, but you're like freaking level 45 in mining, or you whatever you wanted to do to go to a quest, you were not able to because, you have to wait until your brother gets up to you, and it takes probably months or compared to whatever level of experience you have for him to get there, and it kind of hinders the fun. But what they're doing here now is just anyone can jump in, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in the game, but as long as you're a good pirate, you can just get the job done.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. And the fact is, I think that the game revolves around co-op. They've made that such an integral part of the game, making it easy for you to play with your friends. Done. Perfect. Right. Now we can definitely talk about how fun the game is, and the Kraken, which we've been teased by. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. But for the most part, I think that the one part they had to get right, they got right. So I'm excited for that. And I'm sure that, Luis, you'll have a lot more to say after you've played the game. Oh, I'm sure you'll have a lot more to say.
I do want to find that Kraken. I saw videos of it.
Oh, and then the pirate legend. Just to kind of close up this little news bit, we know that there's an end game to this. A lot of people are saying, well, we want what if you want to be a pirate legend? The pirate legend pretty much gives you a whole bunch of perks, but one of them being a unique ship. That's pretty cool. I think that's gonna kind of incentivize a lot of people to be like, I want to do that, and it's definitely incentivized me. So, Luis, I know that you'll have a lot more comments probably either in the next episode or when you're next available, because I'm sure that you'll have a lot to say once you've played the game.
I will, for sure.
Yeah. So, Luis, I know you have definitely things to say about this particular one. Crytek, if I'm not mistaken, dropped Hunt Showdown. It's been in closed alpha for the past few months, and it finally released on early access on Steam, and I've been able to get my hands on it. Luis, I gave you a whack at it and let you play it. Thoughts? Just just tell the audience what your experience was.
From the 15 seconds that I was able to play it, because it is truly unoptimized. It's a great visual game. I feel it's missing a lot of things. Like I told you earlier, it felt a bit barren in the sense that I don't think the AI is competent yet. I understand, like we spoke about this, and I understand how, the zombies are there to serve as like a block, as a form of an obstruction to get to the goal. You don't want to make noise. You don't want to alert other hunters. I feel like the game is missing more of I don't know. It doesn't really make me feel like I'm hunting these creatures that I'm supposed to be hunting, because from what I've seen, the AI is kind of dumbed down. Like the butcher just runs around sometimes, and I feel like they definitely have to fix the optimization, because I wasn't even able to play it, and I have a pretty good computer. So until then, I'll have better opinions on it. But like I said, a lot of the animations from the zombies are kind of stiff. I don't like the fact that, they could have had the ragdoll effect of when you kill these zombies. A lot of these other games have it. Why can't you do it with these? And I mean, it's a small fact, but like, I like that more of like a realism feel when you see like those lifeless bodies dropping to the floor, and and based on the environment, they would like roll around instead of just like a drop down, dead animation. That kind of kills the feel of it for me. Like I said with PUBG, it wasn't optimized in the beginning, but it did feel very smooth. Like you can see the animations, like you see like the bullet dust and all that. And there are some beautiful moments in this game. Like the lighting is gorgeous. The vegetation is great. I like the fact that it moves when you move along, and the sounds are fantastic. But I don't know. The enemies don't feel like they have lived up to the hype that I thought the game would be thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you've mentioned a lot of issues. I think the main issue, aside from the AI, which I definitely agree needs improvement, I think the main issue that they have to focus on is optimizing the game. I understand that you've got like an early access title, like a category, but I've never really. I think that with this day and age, with all these games coming on early access, it's slowly becoming the norm for people to just kind of come out with their crappy game early access
and put the
say,
excuse.
give me money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give me money and we'll improve it. And a part of me is kind of like, yes, I get that that's a good way to fund money. And if you have a good working game, then perfect. But I think early access should be less on the bug fixing and more on the content improvement, if that makes sense. Like, if I can barely play your game at 60 frames per second when I'm running an i7 with a 1070, like on medium to low settings, come on. Like, it should run at least butter smooth at low settings. Okay?
Yeah.
And
at least on low settings.
At least on low settings. And I'm talking a game, I can play most games on ultra. So this is just, and we're talking 1080, not even 4K. I can't even fathom the idea people are playing this on 4K.
What was the setting that you were running the game on? And
I was playing on, I put it on medium, and then I lowered the anti-aliasing because that's always like a killer. But then I left the I can never pronounce that properly. The last setting, filtering? That's it. I put that one to 16 because that's usually not very taxing. But the anti-aliasing, I put that to like almost like the middle setting because I didn't want it too high. And for the most part, it still ran at 50. Like, it was a steady 55, and then it would drop to 45, and then maybe get 61 every now and then. So it needs optimization. Is it a good game? I personally think for $30, it's fine. I think it's good, but it needs to be able to be playable. Like, I play, but I wish it was like it's a good experience to play. Not just a chore to get to the game, because I mean, just getting through the UI itself, the menu, all that stuff, it's kind of like you're waiting. Changing the settings alone makes you reload the entire map. I mean, it's weird stuff. Not really sure how I feel about like somebody I'm very confident telling people you got to pick up Sea of Thieves. Hunt Showdown, not so much. Like, even though I like the game and I'm willing to put in at least 20 hours into it, I'm not really excited to like tell somebody, hey, you got to dump $30 into this. I just don't feel it's worth $30. That's it. Like,
I haven't played Sea of Thieves. I haven't played Sea of Thieves yet, but just from the gameplay alone that I saw on YouTube, because I wasn't able to play Hunt Showdown because I just told you 15 seconds in my game took me like 10 minutes to even be able to get into the game after closing it and try again and then trying again. But even then I wasn't able to play it. But like I said, I saw videos of both games, and Sea of Thieves, just the one word I would use for it is just wow. It's just the water, the visualization of the game, the game style, the way it plays, the whole fact that you can actually, the map is, like you said, it's like Star Citizen in the fact that it's all interconnected. There's no lagging. It's all already optimized. And when you played the alpha, right? You played the alpha?
I played the alpha, and I told you that day, it was like back in December, because like there was a few closed alphas, but I played the December one. And I remember telling myself, if they release this early access, I would accept it as a full-fledged game with less content. Like $30, less content, and then let me pay $30 later on for a season pass. I would be totally okay. That's how optimized and it was a releasable game at that point. Obviously, I want the full game. I'm willing to pay $60 for the full game, but yeah, it's a perfectly optimized game. It's also the way that they coded it. The game looks half beautiful, half stylized, which I'm saying. Let me rephrase that: half realistic, half stylized. So you've got like the waves, which I mean are mesmerizingly realistic. Like you're looking at them and you're like, holy shit! Like this looks
best water in the game ever, huh?
I would argue. I mean, and I like to play. I would like to say that it's the best ocean, not necessarily water, but the best ocean simulation I've seen. Because when you're standing on the boat and you see the waves and the way the foam, like the just kind of like collides. And I mean, you and I, we've been on cruises long enough to know how like water reacts in the middle of the ocean, and that's real damn close.
Yep.
And the sunsets and this, oh my god,
it's a very nice game.
It's breathtaking. The sounds are amazing. The way that they just added like the boat, the wood creaks at night, and like and the way that like the way the sails will like they do this like whoosh, but it's a beautiful mix of sound design, style, and just the right texture rendering that makes this game just look beautiful. I've seen some renderings of the game on like low settings. Not necessarily going to say that they're bad. I'm just going to say like if you're going to play this game, you got to play that shit on Mythic at least, or at least on like the higher settings, because like I think that the ocean rendering just adds too much to the game to miss out on that.
No,
but that's just my thought.
Now,
it's an experience. Let's move a little bit back onto Showdown, and I'm going to give some positive thoughts on the game, since I know we completely trashed it.
Yeah.
Positives, the graphics are beautiful.
Yeah.
Look amazing.
Graphics, but there are some textures that do lack. I question it. I'm like, am I playing a 2018 game, or am I playing like an mid to late kind of PS3 game sort of thing?
Yeah, especially the ground. And I'm saying because I was able to play on high settings. Okay, I can play it. I was just getting 40 frames per second and a lot of stuttering. So I was like, no, screw it. But I was able to see any graphical improvement at all, if there is any. And the game is beautiful, but I completely agree that there are some small, like when you kind of focus in. My real question is, if the game is really that, why is it so unoptimized? But then you have like, I understood this from like PUBG. You're trying to fit 100 people into one map. The network issues, just the network issues alone, would probably cause issues. But like, you got 10 people in a map, some AI, because really, there's zombies, but they're not like, we're not talking like hordes of zombies where like there's thousands of them. And then one main boss, which, as you explained, and I completely agree, is the dumbest bosses I've seen ever. So, I don't know. I don't know why it's
how was your experience with the butcher or the spider?
So
dumbed down, was it? Or?
It's very dumb. It's very, very dumbed down. I got him, I think I was in the slaughterhouse. I forgot where exactly I was able to pin him down. But he was on the bottom, he was like on the basement level, and he kept on running in circles. Just circles.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
That's what I saw in the gameplay, and I was thinking maybe it was just glitched or something, circles. But no.
No. He's just, and he doesn't go up either. He didn't go up to me, so I could just I spammed him.
Yeah.
So because these enemies do a lot of damage. Like if they touch you, they take like at least a third or half of your health.
Yeah, but you don't even need to get close to him to do that. It's game breaking. That's why it's so upsetting.
Oh, absolutely. I would kind of go down the basement stairs, aim, wait for him to run towards me, shoot him, knowing that he's not going to run up the stairs, walk up, just kind of like take my breath, reload, because it's a one-shot shotgun, so I have to reload every time, go down, shoot again until his health was done. That's it.
I compare every horror game now to Amnesia, because to me, Amnesia is like the pedestal of horror games, and that Amnesia is number one to me. And imagine how game-breaking it would have been in Amnesia. You see the monster there, but he can't get you because of where you're positioned, so there's no fear at all. And when you go into hunt, you're expecting to not only be scared of the hunters who are trying to hunt you down, but when you go to the monster, he's not going to hurt you, so what are you scared about when you go to get the bounty? Nothing. You're just scared of the hunters.
I'm sure that there's instances where like the creature, I've seen people play, I've seen people play like, like, I don't know, like a few times, and yeah, it is running after them, but not necessarily. There's no real mechanic, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, there's no, like, I don't know. At least I didn't find one. And if there is one, it doesn't seem much easier to kill. If there was one. I know there's lanterns around, stuff like that, but for the most part, I didn't really find it. I think the positives of the game is the actual concept. That's for me, like, the biggest positive.
Concept and graphics for me.
Yeah. The positive is I love the idea of having these hunters who die forever. I love that. I think that it creates tension where there really wouldn't necessarily be any tension. Because when you really think about it, let's say you just kept like your own character, like you had a character, and you kept on going in and you die and you come back and reset, whatever. It's not really a big deal. Even if you lost your gear, whatever. But this is like you're training a particular hunter to be the best that he, or later hopefully she, could be. And they eventually you make a stupid mistake and they die, and I'm sure you become emotional, so like emotionally attached to them. God knows, when you tried my version of the game out, I was like, dude, you gotta recruit a new hunter because you're not playing with mine. Like I love these guys, like I've put them through through the thin and thick, with these games.
Yeah, there's an attachment to the character because once he's done, he's gone.
Well, because you also level them up and you give them traits and attributes. So if you play enough, you'll level them up and you'll be able to like increase their health, give them like certain perks. So that's pretty cool. You kind of become attached to them. It has like this like Darkest Dungeon system, which is an excellent game if you're on the Switch or PC. I would suggest trying that game out. So for the most part, that's our thoughts on Hunt Showdown. I'm gonna definitely put some more time in it later on. But I don't know. Like, I think I'm going to keep my hype down and not really recommend it to anybody.
Yeah. But don't lose hope just yet. It might get better. Don't lose hope just yet. No.
It's still early access. There is hope. PUBG has, when they first came out, was very like glitchy, buggy, and now it's like very, very, now it's mostly playable. Mm-hmm. So there's hope. Now, one little glance before we jump into the main discussion: Fortnite Battle Royale Season 3. It's space themed as opposed to last season's like night theme, like medieval theme. If you want to jump into that, the battle pass, it'll give you like the premium loot. It's like 950 in-game currency, which is like roughly $10. I don't know why I necessarily recommend doing that, but since it is free, I always thought like, you know what, like $10, I think it's definitely worth the $10. It's pretty much you're getting the same system as PUBG, and PUBG's worth like 30. So it's not bad. I personally not necessarily prefer Fortnite, but jumping into the discussion later on, I feel like it's a little bit more of like I know I'm going to get dirt for this, but I don't know. I feel a little bit less like it's less competitive for me. I don't know. It's more casual.
Oh, I actually am very sentimental on these debates of, I'm getting off topic here. I want to say, first off, for the PUBG thing that you said that for the loot with PUBG now that you actually can use currency to buy like keys for these new boxes, I think it's pointless. I think it does nothing unless you really, really wanted to. There's no need for that. There's no need for it. It's just a money grab. It's just a money grab.
You're talking about like the loot crate system that PUBG has that gives you one freaking item. Yeah. Like, come on. Which is why.
And I saw the math for it because like if you wanted to get the whole outfit, there's like a 0.065% chance of you getting the outfit like in one box, the whole thing.
Well, that's why I recommend, like, as much as I know, like, and I'm saying this because I thought about it. I'm like, you know what, $10 ain't that bad because it's not really RNG per se. Like, you pay the $10, you have premium access for that season, and every time you level up your character, you get something new. Like, you get something that's already predetermined for you. Like, it's like, okay, you're gonna like when you reach level 7, you're gonna get this. When you reach level 10, you're gonna get this. When you reach level 9, you're gonna get this. So if you don't pay the $10, you'll only get one thing. I think every like 10 levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of like, I'm like, you know what, for $10 it might not be that bad. It's a day's worth of lunch or something.
To me, the game has never been about that though. It's always just been about the gameplay. The fact that you just want to get to number 1 and you just want to have fun with your squad and see how far you can go and just have those amazing moments that happen randomly at any moment in time.
Excellent. Which is a perfect segue. Because I think that this is where we're kind of like gonna like butt heads a little. Yeah. I'm excited for this. The discussion for today is our thoughts on competitive gaming and casual gaming and how they may not be as exclusive as one may think. But I want to kind of like discuss this because I know that you're a very competitive person, especially as a gamer. You like to like kind of like put yourself in these tough situations, PUBG, Rainbow Six, and I say this because I really consider myself a very casual gamer. What is your thought when it comes to like PUBG, all these things? Why do you think you keep on going back? Is it just for that? Is it just to be the best player that instant? Like that's it?
No.
It's just that's what you want.
No. It evolves from casual gaming. Like I said, like I've been a gamer like almost all my life. And like I said, like I noticed that Hunt Showdown, I did not like it. From like a couple of minutes of just looking at it, I saw the flaws that it had. I was able to, so when I saw PUBG, I'm like, I immediately knew I wanted to play that game because it felt like it was my style. And as I kept going more into PUBG, I was like, okay, I want to keep playing it more and more and more. So it becomes more of an obsession and wanting to continue to win. You understand? If the game is super good, it goes from casual gaming to, okay, I want to be, more people than I can beat than I did before. You understand me?
Fascinating.
So
totally.
Rainbow Six Siege just started out as, oh my God, I'm getting my ass handed to me. I was like, this game is very difficult, and so but to me, I love the way that the bullets function, the fact that you can see the holes on the wall and be able to look at some other guy across the room and be able to shoot him through that hole. So that whole concept of the game was just, it's so well developed and it's so realistic that it made me want to keep going from casual gaming to like, oh my God, I can kill these 2 people if I do this. And from that, it progresses to, okay, let me keep leveling up. Let me go to this next operator, see how they function. And from that, it goes to, okay, I want to get really good. I want to get more friends into this and eventually go into ranking. That's how it works for me.
And I think that's an excellent way of putting it, because what your explanation and your theory behind it is that the way you've progressed from a casual gamer to a competitive gamer is because you've kind of like, you've done the casual thing, you like the game, and then you're kind of like leveling yourself up. Like you're saying, no, I want to do this better. I want to do this faster. I want
There's
to
the point that it clicks.
There's a
point that it clicks that it's just like, oh, I just want to reach a certain level. Either I want to become, like when I started out with League, I was very terrible. I thought that a support character, I just saw like this support character that was called Alistar, right? I knew nothing about MOBAs. And I saw a support character and I was like, oh, he looks cool. I'm sure he's going to kick ass. And I'm getting my ass handed because then I found out that he's not supposed to be an ADC. He doesn't do any damage. I figured that out. So as I learned that, I'm like, oh, okay, let me find out who does more damage. So then I got Ashe. And then I got better with Ashe. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing really good in bot lane, And then eventually got to level 30. I'm like, okay, let me go to rank because I know how all these characters function. But I loved the game. And the fact that get me going through the game was because I loved how the game played. And I loved, the whole style of it. You just basically have to have a liking to, initially you need a liking to the game. If you don't like the game, you're just going to let it go. Once you like the game, you start playing it casually. And once you start playing it casually, comes skill. And once you get skill, you go into ranking. And then you get more competitive as it go.
So it seems like would your system work with like any game that you can, so for example, like we discussed this a little bit before the podcast, but you're pretty much saying that this would work with like, for example, like Civ 6. Which,
for sure, most definitely.
You start off as like playing with AI, you're practicing, but then you start realizing you like a certain governance better, and you're playing much better, and then you end up going into multiplayer online and stuff like that. And then so it's funny because like whenever you discuss this type of topic, like competitive versus casual, people tend to shift their attention from the non-violent games to the more like violent games. And when I'm saying violent, I'm saying like the more like one-on-one, like PUBG, Rainbow Six, Call of Duty, and even MOBAs, like, like those, like, you got like this intense like battle of one-to-one, team-to-team, but then they kind of like ignore the strategical, like, because like when you really think about it, and then once you start thinking about it, then you start realizing, wait a minute, StarCraft, you start thinking about all these like Civ 6, start thinking about like World of Warcraft, which if you've seen World of Warcraft on Twitch, some of those battles are very intense, but they're slow paced, but they're very competitive. If you know what you're doing, you can get really competitive and really invested in beating the game.
That word right there,
people.
Invested, is what I wanted to add on. You brought up Civ 6, right? Like I played Civ 6. I think it's a fantastic game. I will play it casually, but I'm not going to invest the time to play it competitively because I don't like it as much as I would like PUBG. It's not my style. I'm more of that guy that Civ 6 is a game that you have to do research on. It's one of those that you have to realize like, okay, there comes a certain point that this civilization can do better than the other one based on their governance or diplomacy skills or, all those skills that they have.
Yeah, like the meta.
Exactly, like their meta. But then you have to do research to see how it can play out. If you're going to go into something competitive and you really like it a lot, there's going to be some research in it. Like I've done research on characters before for like League of Legends, but that's because I want to have a competitive foot in it, But if I'm playing a game casually, I'm not going to go and actually take my time and research on the game. That's a casual gamer. But if you do research, I think, and you want to keep getting better at the game, that's when it's going into the competitive field. Now,
what are your thoughts on those that, because the way we're talking about it is it's a level of experience, right? Like it's a level of playing the game, getting really comfortable with it, and then going out and actually achieving your goal, whether it be all the goals you've mentioned. But now let's talk about games that are necessarily not that easy to become competitive in, only because of the communities that they're in. And I'm not necessarily saying toxic. I'm just saying you need to be able, and we've spoken about this again a few times, because I'm a casual gamer, and the number one thing that people tell me is, hey, do you play Rainbow Six? Hey, do you play PUBG? Hey, do you play this? And I tell them, yeah, casually, and I would love to play it competitively, but I can't. Right. And the question is, why can't you? And then it always boils down to the same thing, the people. For some reason, like matchmaking, because like I don't, sometimes, you know, we all have like schedules, and sometimes it's really tough to get like a 5-man squad that you know onto the match and stuff like that. And then with PUBG, I usually play solo, because I'm not gonna pair up with somebody random, you know, and I'll probably pair up with you if it's a duo. But sometimes the matchmaking is just horrendous. Exactly. You know, like you're jumping in, and like I kind of like use the analogy of like it's like Tinder, but instead of swiping, you're just agreeing to go on a first date with the first 4 random people you can get a hold of, you know, and you're committed to that. Yeah, but instead of being a dinner date, you
get put in a squad that's competent, or
hope to God that the person is even that they're friendly, that they're at least willing to deal with you. Because one thing is saying I'm already competitive. I'm going into a competitive match. I know I've done all my research, as you say. I've done all my planning, my thought. I know the map of the Rainbow Six, and the map I know it really well. But what happens when you're a casual gamer? That you're trying to transition to your competitive gaming. You've already got the mechanics down, but you want to try it out a little bit more. That's when I think the community has been a little more like, how can I say, resistant to accepting these casual gamers. I think some people actually confuse the word noob for casual. Because they'll just be like, "Oh no, this guy doesn't know what he's doing."
It's beautiful that you said that it's people confuse the term noob to casual, because a casual person just plays the game and he just likes it, but he already has experience in the game, but he's not willing to push himself further to get to like that extra skill of either whether you need like finger dexterity or, you know, like that quick reaction. You understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I completely he's not willing to go MLG all the way. You understand me? I do think it's important that, and I want to bring back the fact of what you said about toxicity, and Rainbow Six Siege is probably, it's really high up there in the toxicity level. I actually was discouraged from playing Rainbow Six Siege in the beginning, and because solely of just the people telling me, don't do this, don't do that, what are you doing? And they would curse me out, call me a dumbass or an idiot. And I'm like, I know I'm perfectly capable of playing the game, if only I would just have a friendly group of individuals who would just, you know, take the time to realize that, yes, I am a noob and I just need to learn how this works. But, I left Rainbow Six Siege, and then I came back because I actually had a friend who wanted to go with me, and we learned the ropes together, and now I love it. And it's a shame because a lot of these people in these communities, they get these people heated, and a person that would be a casual gamer in the game originally does not end up becoming a casual gamer just because of the yelling and all that unnecessary toxicity within the group. I also want to bring up the fact that you said those hindrances that cause people to become competitive. PUBG has the option that you can go solo. So you do have the option which is amazing. Awesome. Yeah, it's great.
It's a huge plus.
It's a huge plus. The fact that you can just
learn on the go.
It's a peaceful game on your own. You know, you messed up and it's your fault and no one's yelling in your ear. Great. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
No, yeah, I'm 100%
now, if you're a great player and you're with a squad of friends or randoms and you do want to win, it sucks because you do need competency. You need at least some level of experience from the others to be able to get that chicken dinner. You understand me? To be able to understand, to be able to call out people that know what they're doing. You know, like when you go like, hey, do you have this attachment on your gun? And they're like, what do you mean? And you're like, oh God, I have to explain this now. You know, that's a hindrance as well.
Yeah. Let me tell you, so I usually, when I'm either working or I'm, you know, working on like editing or stuff like that, I usually put on Twitch. and I'll put on games that I don't necessarily play. So I'll put on like I'll watch people playing Escape from Tarkov or PUBG or Rainbow, just to kind of like have like this like osmosis learning, you know, like kind of like maybe get familiar with the map.
Subliminal learning. You're learning it as you're.
Yeah, just while I work. I mean, if I'm not doing it, then I'm probably not going to be playing anyways. So I watched a streamer, and she was just being absolutely pulverized by the people she was playing with because of her loadout. And I'm like, oh my god, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like people saying like, oh, you need the 4 times, not the 8 time, or you need this and that, but like really kind of like micromanaging her. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, this is not an E-League. This is not a, this is somebody who just match made. She was
What game was this?
PUBG. Like,
you can win the game with an iron sight and a freaking handgun if you end up being the last guy and you just shoot him in the head and the back and he doesn't even know. You don't need anything. You don't need anything. It helps. But
there's always that joke. What happened like a few weeks ago? I'm not sure how old the actual GIF is or the recording of the YouTube video is, but the guy who got to the end, he was like top 3rd with his underwear and a pan. Like he was just like lying. Did you see it? He was just lying on the ground. He was like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
Oh yeah, and he just was like, "No, it's okay, I'm fine." And he just
it's okay, because he realized at that point it was like, nah, 2 guys with guns, it's gonna be a little tough. But he got that far. It's just that micromanaging and like that like level of like attitude towards other people that it's just like it makes these games sour, which is why I think the competitive, and I'm not necessarily saying that the matchmaking is the reason people are not doing it. I'm just saying that most people, when they ask me, why don't you play competitive? I usually put it on the fact that I just don't have like the proper group of friends to play with, because I'm not going to matchmake. That's it. Like, I'm just not going to go in a Rainbow Six match and go in. And then most people are like, oh, but just ignore the people. No, I'm not going to play to.
How can you when it's a freaking team-based game? It's super important to be able to call out stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which is another reason why I stopped playing comp on Overwatch. Again, it's not about hurting my feelings. It's just that why am I going to play a video game to get yelled at? Like it's just like I'm not going to do that. If I'm going to play a video game, it's to have fun. If I'm going to play comp, it's to beat people. But I'm not going to beat people while I don't know how many times Bettyzeo, she has her own stream. I don't know how many times like I'll be playing with her or watching her or like, just like hanging out with her, and she's playing comp, and the people are like so demanding. Like they'll be like, no, you got to play Mercy, or no, you got to do this. And then they will not let go. Like I've seen people throw matches because somebody in the team didn't listen to them. Not because they were doing bad.
That's insane.
Just because they weren't listening. You got to do this.
I understand completely. And I just want to tell people that they're on a high horse because they think that just because you think that you're doing well you're not constantly watching the screen of the other person. You're not constantly seeing what they've gone through in that point in time during the match. And then I never understood the point of why you're going to be tilting someone, telling them that they're doing. Why are you going to give them negative feedback when that never works? Negative feedback is never going to make one do better. Like going like, hey, you suck. My first instance is like, I immediately hate this guy. I don't even want to help out this guy anymore. You get me? Yeah. Use positivity in the game to get a better outcome. Yeah, you may lose, but it's not the guy's fault. The guy probably you don't have to belittle someone. It's just a game at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, no. But when it comes to these competitive matches, people are like ranking themselves, and then just to kind of come back and just do like a full circle. The same reason that I don't do matchmaking, because I don't like that level of random people like being toxic. If you're really that competitive, you shouldn't be matchmaking in anyways. Like, that's just like my thought is like, if you're gonna be that competitive, like where you're gonna be like almost like a coach to the people, play with a group of friends. Like play with people who are going to communicate with you and listen to you and listen to all your bullshit. And but like if you're gonna jump into a match-made team, you have to expect that the people you're jumping in may or may not be competitive people. Like that's it. Like it's just that's
what's even funnier than that or sadder than that is that, for example, if you play a normal match that has nothing to do with your ranking,
arcade. I know arcade.
You get these individuals who go like, switch to this, switch to that, and like, and in my mind, like, I can care less about what you want because this is a casual. It doesn't matter. This does not count for anything. What really counts against you is in the ranked mode. That's where you gotta actually go hard and at least have some sense of, urgency and a lot of team cooperation. But just because I'm playing this character now does not mean I have to do it that way. And either way, if you look at the stats at the end of the day, the person ends up having more medals than the guy that was complaining. Or you understand me? Like,
because that person was probably more focused on playing the actual game than worrying about the troll or whoever was complaining.
He was playing the game.
Exactly. Now, this is an interesting way of putting it because we've circled around a topic that I wanted to discuss, and I think we've kind of like hit the bare bones on it, is that whether casual and competitive they're exclusive, if they're their own, or can you have like a mix of them? And you hit it. Some games are mixed. You have Overwatch that has competitive ranking, the season and all that stuff, and then you have like the arcade mode, so you have like this game where you can kind of jump in to different activities, and they each have their own level of competitiveness
and sensitivity and all that. You gotta go in knowing what you're buying. You're not gonna go into casual and be like, okay, team, let's win this. Oh my God, you're such an asshole. Why didn't you heal me? All this and all that. At the end of the day, it's casual. But if you do go into competitive, you at least have to be competent. Know what you're doing. Willing to be a team player and calm down on toxicity because it's never going to help at the end of the day. But
exactly. And then No, go.
No, but at the end of the day, like, you got to know what you're jumping into and have that mindset ready because it's disrespectful and it could ruin or make or break a game. Like in Rainbow Six Siege, it's the same situation. Even in normal, people go crazy because like, let's say your aiming was bad in that one turn, and then all of a sudden everyone just starts ranking on you because you made a mistake and they don't even know what your skill set is yet. But be nice to the person.
So, and you know what? And it goes both ways. I mean, you can easily have a stubborn person who you have a team, they're communicating, and they say, "Hey, I need a healer," right? And they ask somebody, "Hey, can you be a healer?" If that person's not responding because they're not using a headset, or they're not texting on chat, right? And it's like comp, be like at least courteous about it and be part of the communication. Like don't just go quiet either, because I know that's like, just because somebody's asking you to do something doesn't mean that they're forcing you to do it. Like, reply back and be like, "Hey, no, I'm a better, Lucio," right? God forbid. And then, maybe the team is like, "Oh, okay, fine. Let's work around that." It's all about communication. It's not just necessarily like, like saying, "Oh, this person's telling me what to do, I'm not going to listen. They're mean," because it is comp. It needs communication. So it's a two-way thing. It's just that when one or the other side just kind of like doesn't want to do what they need to do. Yeah, they butt heads. They're stubborn, or I guess.
And it transcends to the other.
Don't be a tyrant.
And it transcends to the other members of the team too, because
because then they have to choose sides.
Yeah, they choose sides, and that's what happens. It tilts one of them even more, because the person that knows that they're not supposed to be going healer at that moment, or they don't want to go healer at that moment, someone else goes like, "Yeah, man, go healer." Also, that person saying go healer can go healer if he really cares that much about the normal match.
Exactly. I mean, I think that in the end, the real way to move casual gaming to competitive gaming is just to have this environment where people know what they're going to expect, right? And then know that if you're matchmaking in, don't expect everybody below you to be subordinate to you. Like, not everybody who's jumping in is going to be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to listen to you, master." And then likewise, don't go in and think, "Oh, because somebody asked me to do something, I'm going to say no because that's like tyrant." Like, no, like, be cooperative. Like, if somebody tells me, like in Rainbow Six, if I'm putting up a thing and somebody's like, hey, you know what? That might actually work better here. Like, let's try that. Okay, fine. I'll be like, all right, cool. Now, if the guy every match is telling me, no, put it here, and it keeps on failing, then I tell him, "Hey, dude, it's not working." Communication, But yeah, honestly, like, I think that the discrepancy between competitive and casual, I think a lot of people like to like put them in like very far separate realms. And you said it yourself. Some people it's an evolution from casual to competitive. It's not just like competitive. Like, that's it. Like, that's where you are. That's where you stand. That's it. Like, it's a spectrum. Is there anything else you would like to add for the episode before we start closing up?
Just be nice out there, guys. At the end of the day, it's just a game. That's all it is.
Absolutely. Unless you're playing Sea of Thieves, then destroy all the pirates.
That's life.
That's life. Every single pirate you see, I'm telling you, man, like I'm telling the audience right now, like I don't know how many times I've gone solo and I'll you have like a lantern and I'll raise the lantern at a ship and like kind of like turn it on and off, kind of like, letting them know I see them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pointing my guns at them. They'll still fire at me. And I'm like, oh, why? I just want to make friends. So that's fun, but it's a fun thing.
So that's the pirates back in the day.
Yeah, for real. So I just want to kind of have like a little bit of like a release statement. We're considering, and I think that it's kind of like in the final stages of releasing a sister podcast called Hungry Social Podcast. It'll be focused not much on video gaming, but more on like funny cultural and social norms. It'll be really fun. We'll be releasing an episode every month. It'll be hosted by people like Luis and people that I know from the law school. So it'll be a lot of fun and a lot of like deeper conversation, stuff that we don't want to dive into this one because we want to keep this one as fun and jovial as possible. That one will kind of be like our tough thought podcast. So, like just keep up, with all of like our emails and all the stuff. If you're on Facebook, we'll probably post some kind of like teaser about that. We're still working out the kinks, but for the most part, just keep out that. We're considering we're considering a giveaway system. I want to start giving away at least a game a month. I know a lot of gamers are, in college and stuff like that, and probably can't afford to buy like every single game, especially when these like November things happen where like you got like hundreds of games coming out in like 3 weeks. People tend to like empty their wallets. So I was just thinking about having like these random giveaways every month. The way that'll work, this episode will not be part of it. It'll be starting in March. But I will be kind of like not, kind of quietly a little bit, releasing one password in one of the episodes for the month. So if you listen to all 4 episodes, you'll 100% be likely to hear the password. And then all you'll have to do is there'll be like an open week where I'll be accepting everybody's, input. All you got to do is put the password in, letting me know, hey, you heard the podcast, you heard the password, and that'll put you into a raffle to win the particular game of that month. I'm not sure which exact game I'm going to be giving away for the month of March, but stay tuned. I promise you it'll be worth listening to the episodes, worth putting in the effort. I'm not going to give you guys like some random indie game nobody's ever heard of, because that would be very unfair. But yeah, so as the jury, guys, you will now be tasked to deliberate on what we just spoke about. Go to www.hungjurynetwork.com and click on the weekly deliberation page where you will find a poll that will let you be part of the final verdict. We'll then disclose the results at the start of the following show. So pretty much the question for you guys, and it'll be reiterated once you get to the website. Are you competitive or are you casual? Just tell us. One or the other. I just want to know how many of our listeners are competitive and how many of our listeners consider themselves casual. There'll be another option for those that are not really sure, but it is a hung jury after all, so the final verdict is not going to be as black and white as we think. So please remember that we upload every Monday. Timing depends on the weather. Make sure to check us out at our website, www.hungjurynetwork.com. Search us up on iTunes, Google Play Music, Podbean, Stitcher, and other affiliate podcast services as Hung Jury Gaming Podcast. This conversation goes both ways, so send us your thoughts. Join the jury by tweeting your comments at Hung Jury Gaming Podcast and join the Facebook page. Luis, thank you for joining us, and audience, as always, thank you for listening. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.